Morning, participants. Now, the title of this talk is Educational Implications of NEP 2020 and Fostering Employability Skills. Now, there have been really vast changes. And in fact, I was also listening to Professor Meenakshi Sood's very interesting lecture, because I wanted to know myself the nitty-gritty of these NEP, though I'm familiar, but I wanted to get different perspective. And she has rightly said the purpose of education is to educate our students to be properly employable, lead good life, and become a good citizen. So, with this purpose, our government has come up with this national education policy to address many of the gaps which were seen. And it has a very vision. The vision is vision of India's new education system, how Indian education system will grow, how it should evolve, and how we can use this education policy, this new education, modified education system to transform India so that we achieve our proper strength, proper recognition at the international arena. So when we say New Education Policy 2020, it's highly comprehensive and detailed policy document which covers all facets of education, starting from child education, school education, secondary education, higher education, and adult education. Now, it may be interesting to note that in adult education is receiving very big attention. The reason being, the policy imagines or envisages that education is a lifelong learning tool. So it doesn't matter you are young, you are middle age, you are senior, how to focus on the education. So the policy is really transformative and futuristic. See, if you look at international systems of education in various advanced countries, they have many of the features which we had, but they're not formalized or given a proper attention. So this policy envisages it develops a deep sense of respect toward the fundamental rights, duties, and constitutional values, bonding with one's country and a conscious awareness of one's role and responsibility in a changing world. It emphasizes how to instill skills, values. Very important issue is making our education a value oriented education that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development, and living global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. The goal of NEP is to train our youngsters, to train our students, to train our learners to become really, truly international citizens. So it has a vision. So vision is when we look forward what we want to be. The framers of NEP 2020, they are visionaries, and they have come up with the National Education Policy 2020 envisions an India-centered education system that contribute directly to transforming our nation's sustainability into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high-quality education to all. Please see here, vision is designed with a view to motivate. Vision statement looks into the welfare, the knowledge of everyone in the country, every citizen of the country. So, such a vision enable us to envision things, and the policy looks at transforming higher education to contemporary international standards. moving towards multidisciplinary universities. And may I add here, I will be I will be discussing, my discussion will be more on the higher education system contributions. I will not be touching on school or like this thing. The reason being, in this lecture, I want to highlight how the NEP helps or focuses on developing higher thinking skills or employability skill among the students. So this policy will higher education to contemporary international standards, moving towards multidisciplinary universities and colleges. Again, the more higher education institute across India that offer medium of instruction in Indian and local languages. A very important decision because our students are good, our teachers are good, but what has been the blockages which were stopping us? One has been the system, another has been the focus, not focus on what our achievements are. Moving towards a more multidisciplinary undergraduate education, as Madam has very beautifully put, how our generation have suffered. But if we are in engineering, we'll continue engineering. If we are medical, if we are in science, we continue science. We want to change, we cannot change it. But this policy says the undergraduate education will not be compartmentalized, it will be multidisciplinary. Student can choose where his skill, where his interest lies. Moving towards faculty and institutional autonomy, revamping curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, and student support to reaffirming the integrity of faculty and institutional leadership positions. So, this policy envisages that teachers will be the moving force in transforming things, in educating our students, giving autonomy to the institution, to the teachers, because institutions which are teacher driven are always excel. You can look at any institution in the world, wherever teachers have contributed, their excellence lies more because of teacher contribution. So then promoting research, that means establishing a national research foundation. So the strategy and structures have been recommended for how to do all these things have been recommended. The salient education implications of NEP 2020 are it is holistic and multidisciplinary education. There is a flexibility of subjects. There could be multiple entry, multiple exit. That means a student can do, let's say, 1 year course. He can have credits. He can do 3 year course. He can join a 4 year course, and so on. The program duration has been, recommended as 3 year to 4 years. Many universities are following it. Program postgraduate 1 to 2 years, and also special recommendation of 5 year integrated master program. See, we used to do earlier also 5 into program, but it was not a national policy. This is now a national policy. When something comes at the national platform, then it has used more importance. People start looking at it in a let's say in a much more better in a better way. Another thing is outcome-based education and student-centric curriculum has been the focus, has been made the focus. Outcome-based education, you may be, I'm sure you most of you may be familiar with this, wherein the emphasis on looking at what the student learns. Then experiential learning, a very important recommendation or policy issue. Experiential learning, as we understand, it has much deeper, it has much deeper significance. As I will share it with you, how experiential learning is helping the students to enhance their higher thinking skills and be able more and more employable. So then another recommendation is credit transfer and academic bank of credits. These are the salient elements. There are many others also, but I will dwell on these and illustrate how these contribute to the employability and raising the skills of the students. So new education policy, which is a multidisciplinary education, early start of vocational education, outcome-based system, multi-point entry and exit, passbook of credits. That means students can accumulate their credits maybe at the age of 10, 20, 30, 40. There is no age limit. Flexible education system, critical thinking and innovative and creativity has been given special mention in the policy because the raising the thinking levels and thinking skills of the large maximum number of students is very important because that's how we can improve our economy. That's how we can create entrepreneurs. That's how we can create leaders. Because critical thinking, creativity, complex problem solving, design thinking, these are again our employability skills. So when the policy says this is to be looked at, everyone will start thinking on this. This is what has been started already. Autonomy for teachers, international standards. Now, when our policies has recommended the setting of international campuses of the top institutions of the world, so it will promote international standard, international competition. Then industry involvement, emphasis on employability skills, value-based education. Now, industry involvement, see, there are, especially in the engineering and professional stream, industry is coming forward and participating in the development of the curriculum, in the development of the laboratories, in the development of the working experience, and so on. And then making value-based education as an integral policy issue has added a very very good component dimension to our education because it is not only important that we should be knowledgeable, it's also important that we should be good human beings. How can we be good human beings? It's only when we are aware of what are the human values, how to practice them, how to imbibe them, what are the all involved in this. So that's what our education policy broadly says. Now, why it has all been brought? Why is there need for all this? Need is this is simple because this is a presently we are having gaps and limitations in our education system. It's a teacher education system. Teaching is textbook and examination oriented. See, most of our teaching is looks chooses a textbook. Whatever written in the textbook, teacher comes in the class, discusses with the student, delivers it, and then that's it. Examination is also around what student has been taught. As madam has very rightly put it, we are not assessing this thinking skill of the student. Less emphasis on real life practical problem. Lab experiments are mostly simple verification experiments. As teachers in the engineering colleges and institute, you know what the students do when they are in the lab. They get some data, verify, yes, now value of G or value of gravity has come out all right, and so on. That means they mainly verify what they have studied in the class. There is no thinking involved in this. Kit culture dominates most of the lab experiments. And you know how electronics lab or electrical engineering lab or mechanical lab, kits are there, so put in the plugs, takes the reading, and then say, yes, sir, I have verified this. Lack of factor design aspect in the project. Students do our projects, but they don't understand what they are learning from the project. Please appreciate. I'm emphasizing very important concept, learning from the project, because doing project is okay. We everyone does project, but what is the learning of the project? I'll share it with you. What is can be done? How NEP emphasizes these things. Student internship industry very limited. The student gain a lot of theoretical knowledge, but hardly learn the skills required in the real life. We are all knowing. As I mentioned earlier, our students are good, but what can they do? When our system says you pass the examination, there will be some, let's say, chunk of syllabus delivered in the class, and then that's it. So that's where the NEP says is trying to bring the changes. So insufficient in the present education system is students are given grades and rankings compared to each other. Students become result driven. They lose the thinking capability. Please see here. They are always on the lookout how to score more marks. More marks are what is taught in the class. And they lose the thinking capability. If they lose the thinking capability, they cannot think beyond what is done or at a higher level. So lack of emphasis on developing higher thinking and soft skill in teaching processes. Now, I will demonstrate how the higher thinking skills can be taught to the student in the class itself. You don't have to have extra lectures by the external agencies, by the external companies. When I am delivering a lecture, when I am taking a lab class, I can reorient my instructional discussion method so that these skills are developed in the class itself. There is hardly any support to students to develop their creativity or innovative skills or do things innovatively because they are bogged down with the syllabus. They're bogged down with passing examination. They don't have time to think creatively. Then same type of assessment for all kind of learning for all students. So we have assessment, examination assessment. This may be for example, his knowledge skill. We cannot assess the thinking skill of the student. Students are very good entity. Once they know something to be assessed, they learn it very fast. Once they know something will bring them a credit, that something, it may be concerning how to enhance problem solving skill. It may be concerning how to think innovatively. If the student knows this thinking process and demonstration of this will give me more awards, he will work more. So now, because the assessment that we have, whether he is a top student, whether he is an average student, whether he is a lower merit student, the assessment is examination system. And we always say for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please, for example, please climb that tree. You think this assessment is same for all these kind of animals? Elephant, monkey, etc. The reason I'm showing an example is one of the limitations of our present system is the assessment. We have assessment, examining assessment. Things are changing slightly, but on the major aspects, and what the student knows, for him passing the examination is the goal. So some issues being faced by our higher education system are, as in fact, maybe there is some repetition here. Madam has very beautifully mentioned, severely fragmented higher education system. We have variety of degrees, we have variety of universities, we have variety of curriculum, and curriculum are also at different levels. See, university is supposed to be, is required to be a knowledge creator. How many universities are involved in knowledge creation, knowledge dissemination? So there is less emphasis on the development of cognitive skills and learning outcomes. Now, when I say learning outcome, please note this thing. Learning outcome doesn't mean only knowledge. Learning outcome means knowledge, knowledge, developing skill, developing attitude, gaining attitude, behavior. So remember, in the net education policy, when they are emphasizing the learning outcome, it implies four components: knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. Now, when I will elaborate more further on this, so we are not emphasizing this at the present. We are only emphasizing knowledge. A rigid separation of discipline with every specialization and streaming of students in narrow areas of study, limited access to socio-economic disadvantaged areas with few higher education institutions that teach in local languages, limited teacher and institutional autonomy, and so on. See, these are the major issues which has been taken care of in the new education policy. Now, the reason I'm saying this thing is, you know, there is the maximum scope of newer discoveries are interdisciplinary research. Do you know that our students from the rural areas are very good in mathematics, but they lack in English? Do we know that the student participation in interdisciplinary learning is limited? How compartmentalized? All these things are creating hurdles in the appropriate knowledge development of those skills. So our universities are so large. Many of the universities are so large that they are not able to maintain standards. They are not able to keep up the required curriculum or monitoring it. So these are the things which have been addressed here. Why have they been? And this has led to the situation where students are no more interested. This has led to a situation where the students do not find any challenge in our present educational teaching, learning, or curriculum. The reason being, as you all know, that the environment has changed so fast with the internet, with digital curriculums, with digital facilities, that students are much more knowledgeable in general terms than they are to the specific syllabus or specific curriculum. Now, this has been a hampering for the student creativity. The students are bored. They are young mind. Young mind are perceptive, and this is happening everywhere all over the world. And this slide indicates the old system where we will say whatever I'm saying is correct. Students are rejecting them. They say no. There are much more beyond that, and you see this slide conveys this signal very appropriately. So the emerging education scenario is changing global scenario is there are many venues for learning. How can students learn and best prepare for success in life as the nature of work continues to change? We know this is a gig economy. In gig economy, work is based on the projects. When the nature of work changes and students are not equipped for that, then get they lose all interest. How can faculty members as well as institutions play a role in educating and preparing students for the future type of work and be good citizens and global players? Now, these are the questions which there are challenges before us, and NEP addresses all these things. When NEP addresses all these things, then it lays down the ground for this. For example, they say NEP says educate our students with the higher thinking skills. Prepare your curriculum so that students are able to develop their faculties. Prepare your curriculum, prepare your delivery method, prepare your assessment techniques so that students develop growth mindset. They have entrepreneurial mindset and so on. So please see here, looking at these aspects, and once the government policy, education policy, national policy says these things, this becomes mandatory for every institution, for every school, for every college. How they do it is on us as teachers. How can I make my student with an entrepreneurial mindset? How can I train my student to become with a growth mindset? The reason I'm saying this thing, there are facilities for this. Facilities required, government say take it. Their infrastructure required, government says take it. So once it becomes a part of the policy, then these things become easily available and across the board. It is the responsibility of the educators, institutions, and then giving a structure that earlier, we had a very rigid structure, 2 years, you know 10 years in the school, then 2 year 4 year, like this. Now this thing, they have come a new academic structure where the student can opt, for example, 2 year program, 3 year program, 4 year program. So now every earlier we had only few institutions, selected institution. Now it becomes a recommendation, and every institution can do all these things. So secondary stage 4 year, middle age is 2 year. So this is how the framers of policy have seen in the interest of the students. Now, the higher education focus on research and innovation by setting up incubation centers. Now, how can I, when the higher education is to focus on research and innovation, how it can be done? See, as a AIC Margdarshak, as experienced person in the field, have been visiting institutions for their NAC accreditation, for NBA accreditation, then different institutions have different ways of doing things. They may justify it, but many of them are lagging behind. The moment it comes before, the institutions must have incubation centers. Institution must encourage the students to develop, to learn new things. So they must, student must participate in the research activities and so on. And they must be also working interdisciplinary. So having interdisciplinary department in an institution has become a mandatory. Now, please see here, this is like creating the environment. It is like creating the facilities. It is like creating the opportunities for the students, and institutions are required to do all these things. The 4-year program, which is there, example, BTech, as you know, or they, in fact, they are coming with BSc 4-year also. They say it should be, it should incorporate research component also. What is the idea of having research component? Making student thinkers, making students to learn those things which otherwise they would not have done it. Now it becomes a mandatory for the faculty also to incorporate a research component in the program. The moment you incorporate research component, in fact, you are encouraging the student thinking differently, becoming autonomous, and then not always following the textbook approach. The moment you have research, you will modify your assessment, you will modify the way students come up with the solutions, and so on. So there are model public universities for holistic and multiple skill education. See, when I say holistic, what does it mean? Student or as human being, we need not only just to gain knowledge, we need to become good human beings. As I mentioned earlier, we must understand what are human values. We must understand what is societal concern. We must understand what is harmony. So this is already being practiced, already being introduced in our previous institutions like IITs and IIMs. But why these only? There may be our 5% or 3% students. How about our other 90% students? Why not every institution should look at these things so that they gain those things which our, why not all our institutions be good institutions? What stops them? See, what is a good institution? A good institution is which focuses on student excellence, student quality, and so on. Now, many of you may raise the point, so students are not interested. No, I don't agree with this. In fact, outcome-based education, as I briefly mentioned, it doesn't say, it says that all our students, all the human beings, they are imbibed with the equal learning opportunities. It is the responsibility of the institution to see to it the students succeed. Because the purpose of education is to ignite the natural talent which has imbibed in the students. So then new education policies integrates professional education into higher education. All students may not be having, let's say, intellectual bent of mind. Many students, they are very good in the professional work. So policy aims to build a holistic approach to preparing professionals by ensuring broad-based competencies and understanding of the human social context, strong ethical compass, in addition to the high quality professional capacity. So preparing a professional must involve an education in the ethics and importance of public purpose, an education in the discipline, and an education of practice. So we have been now, government introduced the professors of practice. This is with the purpose of this thing to encouraging practice, practical components of the education. So professional education has been made a integral part of the higher education. Now, many of you may raise the question, how it is possible? That's where the skill of the institution lies. So now, standalone technical universities, health science universities, legal agricultural universities, of these, they will, that means specially focused discipline will be transformed into multidisciplinary like this. Already know that IIT Kharagpur has started a medical school. Now, because these are very useful, it encourages the interdisciplinary research. Many institutions have come up with interdisciplinary higher education programs. So all institutions offering either professional or general education must evolve into institutions offering both in the decade. That means student teach faculty should be good not only in the academic aspect, they should be good in the professional and so on. Please see here, even now you must be reading a lot. See, there was a time when psychology was a subject which did not have any practical applications. Now, if you read any of the, if you look at the internet, you will find that vast applications of psychology for the welfare of human being, like say positive psychology. How positive psychology helps a human being to overcome his mental constraints like depression or anxiety. That means the pure academic content of psychology has been transformed into professional application also. So this is being made, mandatory, or if the institution policy says institutions should not only focus on the academic component, they should also focus on the professional component, on the application, and come up with what are the benefit, how their work is beneficial for the society, for the uplift of human being, and so on. So that's a very important emphasis of NEP. Now, NEP strong emphasis on fostering, developing what are the 21st century skills. We say what are the higher thinking skills. Now there is a term called 21st century higher order thinking skills. These are the employability skills. A student having good component of these skills will be successful in any discipline. Mandeep, any question here till this place? Participants, any question, please? Any inputs? The reason I'm saying this thing is how NEP has made mandatory and overcome those gaps which were hindering the progress and uplift of our educational performance. See, educational performance, as I mentioned, is when my students, when my society becomes a knowledge society. When we progress not only materially, we progress spiritually also. And our NEP says that thing. How can I progress spiritually if I do not understand what is the meaning of human values? How can I practice being gratitude if I don't understand what is gratitude? And so on. So, any input here, please? If there is no input, then just have it. These are the skills which are required. How can these skills be imbibed in the students? Following the recommendations of NEP, the analytical thinking and innovation, active learning and learning strategies, creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, leadership, all these things are required. So quality assurance and student learning environments. How NEP promotes this thing? So we have seen what are the significant implications for the higher education of NEP 2020. Now, how does it ensure quality of student learning? There is no input. Hello.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir,
Hello, Pravesh.
yeah,
Huh.
one issue what I want to focus upon. that the provision of NEP, the multiple entry and multiple exit policy is there. So how can we, I mean, make it possible that a particular professional or particular student will be specialized in a particular stream or particular area or particular realm of work or activities, because
Yes,
the
very good
moment
question,
yeah,
Parvez. I'll tell you how.
yeah,
Now, do you know? Let us look at the furniture industry.
right,
Just
sir.
to give you an example. See, we are all trained in pure subjects: physics, chemistry, mathematics, maybe engineering and so on, or pharmacy. Look at the furniture industry. The kind of furniture which is being made, can you imagine the utility? Can you imagine the flexibility? Can you imagine even a mattress? How they are helping our body.
Right, sir.
You agree with this?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Now, supposing I did diploma, I discontinued my education. My father has been a carpenter, and this is in my genes. Then I focus on this. Then I gain practical knowledge, and then I start doing it again. Those things which my father could not imagine or think, but with the knowledge and the awareness that I got through education and through experience, and going in for further, let us say now he does the simulation and modeling. I can create a furniture which has tremendous values. Would you
Yes.
agree or not?
Somehow, sir, it's okay. I mean,
No, no,
for some,
somehow nahi. You disagree with. I want you to disagree.
yeah, yeah,
See, I
yeah,
have
I
been
mean,
to Malaysia. If you
sir,
look the way they prepare a furniture,
yeah.
you will be amazed. After all, वो भी students हैं, हमारे भी students हैं. How come they could do it and we are not doing it? And
Sir,
let
what
me.
I'm saying that we cannot generalize it. I mean, some
No, we have to make it
may
general.
do that.
Why should I do it? Now,
Uh,
supposing we have students, 20%, our 20% students have natural talents. And please
yes.
remember, brain is a muscle. The
Hmm.
purpose of education is to develop the brain. If I develop the brain, if 15, 20% students have natural brain developed by nature, and brain is a muscle, then I can develop. Why not I develop about the rest of the 80%? Why should I
Hmm.
not create facilities that they also might go? See, why do we go to the gym?
Hmm.
जाते हैं ना, to
हाँ,
develop
बिल्कुल
our muscles.
ठीक है.
Now it is established fact by neuroscience that students, in fact, I will share with you when I discuss a few things about outcome-based education. That student, our brain can be thinking can be enhanced, thinking can be modified, thinking if by giving proper educational inputs, by assessing them appropriately. I'll give you references. Maybe I will touch upon this aspect also. When that is the case, why should I not create such facilities for my students? Why
Hmm.
should I not expose them to these things?
Okay.
Yes, please. Now,
Yeah. It's okay, sir. I mean, somehow I'm a little convinced. What I'm saying that suppose a person, just I'm giving you example. Just suppose a
please.
person is for 1 year he has taken civil engineering as a subject, and
Ji.
he worked for there. And after that, what happened? For some certain reasons he didn't like or something like that, he left it
Huh.
and joined some call center, right?
Hmm.
And after that, again, for after 2 years, again he has decided and he's deciding, and after that he's coming back to mechanical engineering, let's say.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So when the finally the end point will come when he will be expert.
Now,
I mean,
see, time is, you are right. Very good question again. The reason is the following. See, if you look at the learning of each of these segments, you remember learning. I'm not
yes,
taking उसने कॉल सेंटर में किया कॉल सेंटर की लर्निंग क्या है.
huh.
See, the moment you think of learning mean knowledge, learning means skill, Learning mean attitude, behavior. If he has developed a kind of behavior in the call center which is good in marketing something else, he will succeed.
Yes.
Now here, see, the gap is that we look at भी उसने कॉल सेंटर में काम किया और उसने मतलब 30,000 रुपये महीना लेके वो घर आ गया। नहीं, आप ये देखो कि कॉल सेंटर में जो उसने काम किया उसमें लर्निंग क्या हुई, इस पर हम लोग फोकस नहीं करते हैं। When I
जी।
discuss experiential learning, I'll going to take up that also. Experiential learning does not mean doing experiment only, does not mean doing project only, does not mean that मैंने ये चीज बना दी। Experiential learning means there are various stages in doing anything, and each stage has something to teach us, to make us learn. If I take the learning of the various stages, then it can fulfill my inner desire. I can do many more things, wonders. आप थोड़ा सा इस पर माइंड लगाइए कि जैसे मैं छोटी एग्जांपल देता हूँ।
जी।
चाय बनाने के लिए आप भी चाय बनाते हैं, मैं भी चाय बनाता हूँ, इंग्रेडिएंट सबके सही हैं, लेकिन एक अच्छी चाय बनाता है, दूसरा नहीं बनाता है, क्या वजह? इसका
ठीक।
रीजन ये है सर, चाय बनाने में कुछ वेरियस स्टेप्स हैं। मैंने भी स्टेप फॉलो किए, आपने भी किए। आपने स्टेप्स ऐसे फॉलो किए कि उनकी लर्निंग जो थी आपकी वो बहुत अच्छी थी। मैंने काम खत्म कर दिया, चाय तो मैंने भी बना दी, लेकिन आपकी चाय अच्छी क्यों बनी? क्योंकि हर स्टेप जो आपने किया उस स्टेप में आपने बहुत सोच समझ के प्रॉपरली स्किल यूज करके किया। अब ये हर स्टेप की जो लर्निंग है ये एक्सपीरियंस लर्निंग में काम आती है। ये मैं छोटी एग्जांपल इसलिए आपको दी कि इसको आप स्टेप वाइज एप्रिशिएट कर सकते हैं। हर स्टेप में चीनी का मिलाना भी, कम मिलानी है ज़्यादा मिलानी है, आप सोच के मिलाते हो, ऐसे नहीं मिला देते हो। वो हम लोग रियलाइज नहीं करते हैं, लेकिन एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग में जब कभी भी हम कोई एक्टिविटी परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, प्रोजेक्ट लैब ही ले लो, आप वो केमिस्ट्री लैब में चले जाइए, आपको टाइट्रेशन करनी है, बुलेट को सीधा रखा, एक बुक अगर टेढ़ा होगा तो भी टाइट्रेशन हो जाएगी, सीधा होगा तो भी टाइट्रेशन हो जाएगी। आप बोलिए इसमें कौन से अच्छा है? किस स्टूडेंट को मालूम है कि इसको ऐसे रखना चाहिए? ये जो लर्निंग है ये आप एक्सपीरियंस लर्निंग से करते हैं। और ये लर्निंग जो वेरियस स्टेजेस होती हैं लाइफ में भी, जैसे आपने एग्जाम्पल दिया कि पहले लड़के कारपेंटर था, पढ़ के फिर कॉल सेंटर में चला। कॉल सेंटर, डोंट टेक इट, कॉल सेंटर इज ओनली प्लेस, व्हाट इज द लर्निंग ऑफ दैट प्लेस? जैसे हैविंग गुड ह्यूमर रिलेशंस, being respectful, attending to the need of the person who is calling you, showing a sympathy to a person who is empathy to a person who is in difficulty. तो ये चीजें कहाँ लर्न करता है वो?
नहीं, वो सर सही है बिल्कुल। वो ये भी बहुत एस्पेक्ट्स मैंने ध्यान दिया नहीं था। आई डिडंट
कोई
गेट
बात नहीं, मुझे मालूम है, इसलिए मुझे
बट
हाँ
एक्चुअली
जी।
सर मैं इस फोकस के साथ कर रहा था कि इफ समबडी वांट्स अ डिग्री और दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग्स बेस्ड ऑन द एक्सपीरियंस लर्निंग एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स, some don't you think that sometime he may lose the things, or he may feel lost when
It is
he
his
just
responsibility. You are right. His responsibility. See, everyone is responsible for his own success.
ठीक है।
ये मतलब देखिए, अगर
and
अगर
and failure too, sir.
मैं नहीं वही कहना चाह रहा हूँ, फेल्योर इज ए रोड टू सक्सेस। सुनिए, अब बच्चों को अभी नहीं, जो प्रेजेंट चिल्ड्रन को अभी मालूम नहीं है, बट एनईपी सेज develop his mindset, create his mindset, so
And
that
rest,
he
rest
appreciates
he will
that
decide.
failure is not a failure in the sense that I cannot do anything. Failure is a step to success. ये माइंडसेट बनाना है, और ये
Exactly.
एनईपी फोकस करती है।
Okay, sir.
लर्निंग और फेलियर, आप जानते हो कोई एंटरप्रेन्योर लाइफ में नहीं है जिसने फेलियर के बिना सक्सेसफुल रहा हो।
Yes, sir.
अरे एलन मस्क को देख लो, 45 बिलियन डॉलर इस पर ट्विटर पे खर्च किया, कितना नुकसान हुआ, बट ही सो हैप्पी अगेन कि मैं कर लूंगा। ये जो माइंडसेट है ना, ये बनाना ये जरूरी है। अदरवाइज इट्स ओनली जो टेक्स्ट बुक नॉलेज था मैंने अपने ब्रेन में भर लिया और उसको आगे यूज करता था। नो, the NEP says, in fact, outcome-based education also says, we have to train the mindset of the student. हमें उसको नॉलेज के साथ साथ स्किल भी सिखाना है. स्किल क्या होता है? लर्निंग फ्रॉम फेलियर इज ए स्किल. हैप्पीनेस इज ए स्किल. ये भी उसको सिखाना है. हैप्पीनेस कैसे आनी है? मैं आपको साइकोलॉजी एग्जांपल दे रहा था ना. अगर आप साइकोलॉजी के आजकल पढ़ें तो आप देखें कैसे पॉजिटिव साइकोलॉजी हैप्पीनेस क्रिएट करने की ट्रिक्स बता रही है. कैसे कैसे आपको मेथड बता रही है. यही चीजें जो हैं हमें बच्चे को जब लैब में जाता है. अब मान ली मैं एग्जांपल देता हूँ. बच्चे अब जो हमारा इस प्रेजेंट सिस्टम है, लैब में बच्चे जाते हैं, रेडीमेड मैनुअल होता है, उसे रीडिंग लिख के ला देता है, हम साइन कर देते हैं. यू थिंक इट्स ए लर्निंग? नो लर्निंग एक्सेप्ट टेकिंग रीडिंग एंड राइटिंग इट. व्हाट इज लर्निंग सर? मैं रिपीट करता हूँ बार बार. लर्निंग इज नॉलेज, स्किल, एटीट्यूड एंड बिहेवियर. बीइंग ऑनेस्ट इज आल्सो लर्निंग.
Yes.
हाँ जी, परवेज जी, अभी और कुछ क्वेश्चन प्लीज
Thank you.
डू
Thank you
आस्क.
so much, sir. I got a better insight now. Thank you so much for that. Okay.
ओके,
Thank you.
थैंक यू. हाँ स्वीटी जी, आपका क्वेश्चन क्या है?
नमस्कार सर. सर
हाँ.
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था, जैसे में ये पॉलिसी आने वाली है मल्टीपल एंट्री एंड मल्टीपल एग्जिट, मतलब ताकि उनकी स्किल्स डेवलप हो सके,
हाँ.
पर वो मैनेज कैसे होंगी? उसमें टाइम बाउंडेशन होता है किसी कोर्स का पर्टिकुलर, और शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए इंडस्ट्री बीच बीच में आना और एग्जिट करना ये सब अलाउ ही नहीं करती, तो वो
ये देखो
सब.
स्वीटी, आप जो सोच रहे हो और कह रहे हो वो जो प्रेजेंट जिसमें मैं भी और आप भी पले हैं, जिसमें हम लोग वैसे पढ़ के आए हैं. अब
हाँ
ये जो
जी.
फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी है इसमें टाइम लग रहा है. आपका क्वेश्चन बड़ा वैलिड है. अभी इसमें टाइम लगेगा. अभी इसको पहले तो हम लोग अंडरस्टैंड, कितने लोग हम लोग जो अंडरस्टैंड करते हैं, कितने लोग हैं जो इसकी सिग्निफिकेंस हम जानते हैं. पहले तो हमें ये समझना पड़ेगा. इसमें टाइम लगेगा, 5 साल 10 साल, कुछ ऐसे भी लग सकते हैं. लेकिन क्योंकि ह्यूमन माइंड को ट्रेन करना, ह्यूमन बीइंग को पढ़ाना एक लंबी प्रोसेस है. आप
हाँ
देखो
जी.
नेचर में वैसे किया हुआ है. एक बच्चा जब 5 साल का होता है तब उसको कई चीजें समझ आती नहीं है. इट्स ए कंटिन्यूअस लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग.
बट सर एक कोर्स की तो बाउंडेशन फिर भी करनी पड़ेगी कि कितने
वो
साल में
बिल्कुल होगा नहीं. इसीलिए जब फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी ला रहे हैं उसमें बिल्कुल बिल्कुल लूज भी नहीं होगा. जैसे मैंने 20 क्रेडिट अर्न कर लिए, अब मैं आई कैन नॉट अफोर्ड माई एजुकेशन, या मेरा दिल करता है मैं थोड़ा म्यूजिक सीखाऊं, चलो भाई सीखाओ. म्यूजिक में आपने सीखा, अब ये म्यूजिक जरूरी नहीं आप क्रेडिट वाला करो. आप ऑनलाइन कोर्सेज अवेलेबल है. आप देखिए ना, ये जो एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट हो गई है, ये सारी जो है ये हमें इस डायरेक्शन में स्टूडेंट को एजुकेट करने में हेल्पफुल होगी. ठीक है ना? अच्छा, अब मान लीजिए कोई स्टूडेंट हो सकता है, उसको आपका मालूम है कई स्टूडेंट 2 साल में पीएचडी कर लेते हैं, कई 8 साल में नहीं कर पाते. ये तो वेरी करेगा ह्यूमन बीइंग टू ह्यूमन बीइंग.
हाँ
लेकिन
जी, तो ऐसे
फैसिलिटी
सारे
अवेलेबल होनी चाहिए.
कोर्स
हाँ जी.
बढ़ जाए,
हाँ जी.
तो सारे कोर्स की टाइम बाउंडेशन बढ़ जाएंगे उससे, तो फिर.
नहीं नहीं, अब कहते कई 2 साल में खत्म कर लेंगे, 4 साल वाला 3 साल में खत्म कर लेंगे. आप नहीं नहीं, देखो आप देखो जो आप कह रहे हो ना वो सही है. आप प्रेजेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कह रहे हो. मैं आपको पीएचडी एग्जांपल देता हूँ. मैंने पीएचडी अपने 2 साल में कंप्लीट करी थी, और मेरा एक कुलीग था उसने 5 साल में करी थी. हम भी, वो भी स्टूडेंट था, मैं भी स्टूडेंट था. क्या फर्क हुआ? ये उसमें फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी थी. अब यही जो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी, मैं क्यों 4 साल ही एक चीज में लगा रहा हूँ? अगर मेरे को मान लीजिए कि अच्छा आइडिया आ गया है, मैंने थोड़ी देर उसको डिसकंटिन्यू किया, कुछ और सीख के उसमें कर लिया. देखो ये जनरल, ये नहीं होगा हर कोई करेगा. देर में भी 2%, देर में 3%, 5%. पॉलिसी सेज कि दिस फैसिलिटी इज नीड टू बी मेड अवेलेबल. मेन लीजिए इस प्रेजेंट टाइम में हमारे 2% बच्चे करते हैं. 5 साल बाद हो सकता है 10% हो जाए, 20 साल बाद हो सकता है 40% हो जाए. तो ये तो टाइम के साथ इवॉल्व होता रहता है ना. you look at this, developed economies like USA. अब मैं आपको अपनी एग्जांपल दूं. मेरा बेटा यहाँ से करके गया इंजीनियरिंग, मटेरियल इंजीनियरिंग में. अब वो बना हुआ है कंसल्टेंट, मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टेंट बना हुआ है. पीएचडी उसकी उसी में ही है. क्यों? क्योंकि उसके जो स्किल थे, जो अपॉर्चुनिटीज थी, जो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी थी, उसने उसको इतनी अपॉर्चुनिटी दी कि वो अपने जो उसके नेचुरल लॉन्ग टर्म स्किल्स हैं, लॉन्ग टर्म जो उसके एम्बिशन है, पूरी कर ले. ये मैंने एग्जांपल इसको दी. नाउ उसको उसकी एनुअल इनकम 4 मिलियन है. अगर प्रोफेसर रहता दे कितनी $100,000 होती. क्योंकि उस ये अपॉर्चुनिटी इंडिविजुअल पर है, वो कैसे अपने स्किल को ग्रो करता है, कैसे डेवलप करता है। और एनईपी से यस हम आपको अलाउ करते हैं, जो करना आप करिए, लेकिन ये रूट आप फॉलो कर सकते हो। हाँ जी स्वीटी जी बताइए।
ठीक है सर।
नहीं नहीं कोई बात नहीं, आप जो आपके सवाल बड़े जायज हैं, वैलिड हैं, और ये आपको पूछने चाहिए। फिर उसके बाद देखो, क्योंकि यहीं पर तो एनईपी की नई न्यू इंटरप्रिटेशन है।
हाँ जी
आपने
सर।
जब एक क्वेश्चन पूछा तो हमने इसकी जो नई इम्प्लीकेशन है वो शेयर करी।
हाँ
हाँ,
जी।
एनी अदर क्वेश्चन प्लीज। एनी अदर इनपुट, यू कैन गिव मी इनपुट आल्सो, बिकॉज ये जो मेरा ये जो लेक्चर है, आप देखोगे कि मैं इसको कनेक्ट कर रहा हूँ कि हम स्टूडेंट को कैसे इनकरेज कर सकते हैं, कैसे मोटिवेट कर सकते हैं, कैसे उसकी थिंकिंग स्किल को इग्नाइट कर सकते हैं, यूजिंग सम ऑफ दी और मेनी ऑफ दी अपॉर्चुनिटीज विच एनईपी हैज गिवन अस। इसमें मुश्किलें हैं, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि सब कुछ जो मैं कह रहा हूँ हो गया, लेकिन ये सब पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं और हो सकती हैं। Now, if there is no question, then we'll continue with this. Now, when I say student learning, now let me repeat again. Student learning does not mean student ने इम्तिहान पास कर लिया और इम्तिहान उसने पास किया जो आपने सब्जेक्ट लेक्चर दिया है, पढ़ाया है। स्टूडेंट लर्निंग मीन उसने उस नॉलेज को कितना किया है, समझा है, कितना वो नॉलेज को यूज कर सकता है, कितना नॉलेज को अप्लाई कर सकता है, कितना उस नॉलेज को यूज करके नई चीज सोच सकता है। एक नॉलेज कंपोनेंट। एंड देन एटीट्यूड, स्किल, एटीट्यूड, कितना उस बच्चे ने इमोशनल इमोशनल एटीट्यूड एक्वायर करी, कितना कि वो एम्पैथी एक्वायर करता है। सी ये जो हमारी डिस्कशन है जनरल है, इंजीनियरिंग के लिए, मेडिकल के लिए, इकोनॉमिक्स के लिए ये सब रेलेवेंट चीजें आ जाएंगी। अच्छा अब देखिए स्टूडेंट का बिहेवियर क्या है। टीम वर्किंग में हर से लड़ता ही रहता है। यू थिंक ए टीम जहाँ के प्लेयर आपस में कंपोनेंट लड़ते रहें कैन मेक ए सक्सेस? नो, ही हैज टू अप्रिशिएट दी डिफिकल्टीज कैसे करनी है, रियल लाइफ कैसे करनी है। तो स्टूडेंट लर्निंग focus on learning and development and lay emphasis on recognizing, identifying and fostering the unique capability of each student. हर स्टूडेंट की अपनी अपनी कैपेबिलिटीज हैं। मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी होलिस्टिक एजुकेशन अक्रॉस सोशल साइंसेज, arts, humanities and sports will bring together the multifarious intelligences of the student. अभी अभी जैसे अभी मैडम ने बड़ी बड़ी एग्जांपल दी थी कि टॉस से आप मेडिकल करेंगे या इंजीनियरिंग करेंगे। इज दिस द नेचुरल डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट? Emphasis on conceptual understanding, higher level thinking skills, creativity, critical ethics and human values, extensive use of technology for all this. So student learning अगर करना है ये सब करनी होगी। आप कहेंगे सर आप भी तो कर रहे हैं या आप कर रहे हो, लेकिन वो 1% स्टूडेंट के लिए, मिनी स्कूल स्टूडेंट के लिए, वाई नॉट फॉर 80% स्टूडेंट्स? अगर मेरे बेटे की हो सकती तो आपके लिए क्यों नहीं हो सकती, हर एक के लिए क्यों नहीं हो सकती? दैट मीन दी इट्स ए नेशनलिस्टिक पॉलिसी। ये कहती है कि ये फैसिलिटीज हर एक के लिए होनी चाहिए। कितनी हो सकती हैं धीरे धीरे हम लोग डेवलप करेंगे, लेकिन पहले इसको समझ तो लें। द लर्निंग एनवायरनमेंट स्टूडेंट, see national higher education quality framework to articulate learning via outcome based education। ना अब फोकसिंग शुरू हो गया कि करनी है तो यू अडॉप्ट आउटकम बेस्ड एजुकेशन फ्रेमवर्क, टेस्ट बेस्ड क्रेडिट सिस्टम, देन academic financial emotional support available to a student to help them attain better। now for example लोन बच्चों को कितने अब इजी हो गए हैं जो। अच्छा उसमें देखिए कोई किसी को ऐसे नहीं देगा फर्स्ट सपोर्ट, अगर स्टूडेंट में थोड़ा सा भी स्पार्क है बैंक्स आर कमिंग फॉरवर्ड। क्यों? वो चाहते हैं, गवर्नमेंट सेज, इनफैक्ट द गवर्नमेंट emphasis encourage students to develop these things, internationalization of education facility। now there many university, many UGC has recommended that student can do their part of the program here, part of the program outside the country। now this is again experiential learning। अभी मैं और बात करता हूँ आपसे in international educational facilities, inter-unit center for international education। that means the government, the policy says there will be international education facilities available and so on। already Deccan University has setting up a campus in Ahmedabad, you know that। UGC Learning Outcome Framework. So, learning outcome based framework, please appreciate this thing. I'm aware कि आपको अभी अब आपका इंस्टीट्यूशन होता है यूनिवर्सिटी के साथ एफिलेटेड है या यूनिवर्सिटी में दे आर ट्रांसफॉर्मिंग इट. अभी लिमिटेड ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन है, कंस्ट्रेंट्स भी हैं, लेकिन उन कंस्ट्रेंट्स को हैंडल करने से के लिए जरूरी है कि मुझे पता लगे मेरा गोल क्या है. See, UGC has mandated new education policy emphasizes that outcome-based learning be implemented at all levels of UG, PG, science in all across subjects. Presently, it is being implemented in the engineering discipline. Medical system, it always has it. Medical education is outcome-based education. इंजीनियरिंग में एनबीए ने पिछले 10 साल से एम्फेसिस शुरू किया हुआ है. Now, our policy says it should be for all levels, maybe science, maybe history, maybe economics, maybe English, maybe Tamil, maybe Punjabi, whatever it is. It should be based on outcome-based learning. The moment you say outcome-based learning, you are mandated to look at student-centric approach. ये जो आज जैसे मैडम ने बताया था, ये नहीं कि हमने आज सुबह लेक्चर दिए, मेरा काम खत्म, इम्तिहान लूंगा, बच्चा पास होगा. नो, it is a teacher responsibility to ensure it that students learn those things. Teaching courses have to transform to outcome-based format. That's what is called learning outcome-based framework. LOC specify what students completing the program are expected to know, understand, be able to do by the end of the program, which are specified by outcomes. Please see that learning outcome I mentioned earlier. So how do I make the LOCF? This here, now comes the implication for the teachers. Teacher has to decide the curriculum. Institution has to decide the curriculum. Now, before deciding the curriculum, then you as teachers and faculty decide what are the aim and objectives of the education system as well as specific goals of the institution. ये हमें करना है. What is to be taught? What are strategies to be followed? How this curriculum is implemented? Forms of assessment, how the curriculum reflect the needs of interest of the stakeholders. अब देखिए stakeholders सिर्फ students ही नहीं है, stakeholder teachers भी हैं, community भी है, society भी है, employer भी है, government भी है. So when I make my curriculum, then my curriculum should take into account, yesterday I mentioned with you the graduate attributes. And the graduate attribute and the program outcome are decided beforehand. They help us to decide the curriculum. A curriculum has to be such that they encourage the student thinking and learning. So LOCF learning outcomes are to be determined based on, please appreciate what I am saying. Outcomes are to be determined based on the knowledge, skills, behavior, attitude, and values, which are gained by the student after completing the program. You know, the program is like the BTech or diploma or MSc or graduate and so on. That means I have to ensure the student is trained in these things. How do I ensure that? Through assessment. There will be assessment for knowledge kind of learning. There will be assessment for skill kind of learning. There is assessment for behavior development. There is assessment for attitude and values. We see here. अभी तक हम लोग knowledge और skill पर emphasis करते थे. NEP says, since you are focusing on the student outcomes, tell me how has a behavior been modified. Tell me how has become a better person. So LOC helps students to become active learners and teachers become active facilitators, laying the foundation of lifelong learning. Now, LOCF says lifelong learning. NEP says lifelong learning. Why should there be lifelong learning? Because supposing if a person is 60 years old, he is 70 years old, do you think he cannot learn? He can learn. He can earn also. He can learn also. Now the point is creating those learning facilities, educating the adults for that is responsibility of the society. It's responsibility of the university. It's responsibility of the government. So the learning outcome curriculum framework will be prepared in such a way so that it helps the students, it helps the individual to become lifelong learners. Lifelong learning new skills. See, there different skills are needed at the age of 50. One may need different skills at the age of 60. He may like start learning. He will start like dancing. He may start like swimming. तो ये फैसिलिटीज अवेलेबल होनी चाहिए. इट डजंट मीन कि वो हमें अभी करनी है, लेकिन ये हमारे गोल है. जैसे मैडम ने कहा था, दिस न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी आफ्टर कम आफ्टर 30 अबाउट 35 ईयर्स. तो ये जो पॉलिसी है ये हमें अगले 10 साल तक रास्ता दिखाती रहेगी. So LLCP helps to achieve the desired outcome within a framework of the potential presently followed choice-based credit system for all programs, undergraduate and postgraduate, by implementing the syllabus in order to obtain the desired outcomes. So desired outcome कौन decide करेगा? Faculty and the institution. Please see here. It is our responsibility as faculty to do this thing, and NEP is empowering us. अगर मैं ऐसा करता हूं तो मुझे इंस्टीट्यूशन रोक नहीं सकता है. Institution is forced to do this thing. Desired outcomes or intended outcomes which institute want that students acquire and demonstrate. See, अभी जो आप NIRF है ना हमारा, आप देखेंगे 3-4 साल बाद इसका स्टेज, इसका असेसमेंट स्टाइल बदल जाएगा. You will find out आपके कितने स्टूडेंट ने किस लेवल पर पहुंचे हैं. And that's where outcome-based education comes. So outcome-based education has been made mandatory now by NEP, and this is a holistic approach to transform a student into a successful and happy person based on desired goals and outcomes. As I mentioned, who decide the goals? Teacher and faculty, institution. Now, holistic approach implies a system which enables all-inclusive development, growth, that is social, emotional, physical, mental, and intellectual of a person, of a student. You see here, that is NEP. Taking holistic approach to education means focusing on all aspects of student growth, not just their academic advancement. It's about establishing students' overall development and well-being. Now, this is what NEP says. So outcome-based education framework mandates to begin with the end in mind. What kind of student want to train? With the aim of development and enhance the natural abilities of students. Every individual is bestowed with natural abilities. उसको बढ़ाना हमारा काम है. Basic philosophy of OBE is all students have talent, and it's the job of the institution to enable students to develop it. The role of the institute is to find ways for students to succeed rather than finding ways for students to fail. Excellence is for every student and not for just few. Please see here, NEP says this thing. OBE emphasizes continuous improvement of student learning via measurements and of outcomes. So then choice-based credit system, you're all familiar with this, value-based. Now, please see here, the outcome-based education, those of you are familiar, affective domain is nothing but value-based component. Affective domain concerned with the individual's belief, values, concern, and so on. And this is really part of this. So CBS, the purpose of CBS is helps the flexibility, freedom of choice, advanced learning opportunities, fulfillment of student needs, inter-institution transfers, quality education, and so on. So since CBCS is integral part of OBE, NEP, and NEP is implemented through this. So NEP and outcome-based curriculum, in fact, this we discussed yesterday, but it very included all this thing. So NEP emphasizes learning by doing and practicing. Please see here also. You remember the rule? Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. ये हम लोग पहले तो काम करते हैं, हमारे स्टूडेंट भी अच्छे हैं, टीचर भी अच्छे हैं, लेकिन हम लोग फेल कहाँ होते हैं? फेल होते हैं जब हम लोग learning by doing is not integral component of all our curriculum. इंजीनियरिंग का है, प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज का है, ठीक है, वो है, लेकिन हम वो कितना 1% ऑफ दी स्टूडेंट पॉपुलेशन होंगे. मेजॉरिटी तो नॉन प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज में. अगर उनमें भी प्रैक्टिस डाली जाए तो कैसे रहेगा? दैट्स व्हाट NEP emphasizes. And you know this thing, if what is the learning of a student from the lecture is only 5%. For reading is only 10%. This is the reading. Audio visual use करोगे तो 20%. Demonstration दोगे लैब वगैरह में 30%. अगर डिस्कशन वगैरह होगी जैसे कि होता है 50%. The maximum learning comes, we see here, practice by doing and teaching others. Above 70% teaching laga. So NEP says make experiential learning integral to all the programs. ये कैसे करना है, ये हमारी जिम्मेवारी है as teachers. So NEP initiates changes in role of teachers and students. जब हम ये करते हैं तो ट्रेडिशनल में तो क्या है, एज वी आल्सो डू, हम लोग लेक्चर देते हैं, स्टूडेंट सुनते हैं, हम इम्तिहान लेते हैं, लैब में जाता है, उसके लैब चेक करते हैं, सो तो इनमें चेंजेस इन रोल ऑफ टीचर्स एंड स्टूडेंट्स, curricular design and delivery, continuous quality assurance, and learning improvement. So NEP emphasizes these things. So now I will, Madam.
Yes, sir.
मैं थोड़ा टाइम ज़्यादा ले सकता हूँ प्रोफेसर मीनाक्षी?
देख लीजिए सर, अदरवाइज तो ये वाला पोर्शन एनईपी का मैंने कल कवर करना है। अगर आप जितना भी
नहीं, अगर आप कर रहे हो तो फिर मैं छोड़ देता हूँ, कोई बात ही नहीं है।
कल मॉर्निंग में, हाँ जी सर, मैं
नहीं, इसीलिए ना मैं जान रहा, अब एक्सपीरियंस लर्निंग में मैं क्विकली करता हूँ थोड़ा सा, क्योंकि जो एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग है ना वो थोड़ी सी डिफरेंट है।
हाँ, वो कर लीजिए सर,
है ना? तो मुझे 15 मिनट ज़्यादा दे देंगे?
आज बिल्कुल सर करेंगे।
नहीं, चलो ठीक है, थैंक यू। मैं ज़रा जल्दी कर लूँगा। अब देखिए रोल ऑफ टीचर, ये मैडम आपसे डिस्कस कर लेगी। अब यू सी we have the engineering curriculum. Now let me focus on this because you are all engineers. Programs are driven, उसमें कोई डिजाइन एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है। इंजीनियरिंग कैरिकुलम में प्रैक्टिकल कंपोनेंट 5%, 10%, 15% होगा। इसी तरह से अगर आप देखो लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग में कोई एम्फेसिस नहीं है, ये उसका एनईपी का इंटीग्रल कंपोनेंट है। अब लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग में होता क्या है, ये देखो, अंडरस्टैंडिंग द चेंजिंग एनवायरनमेंट। सी लाइफ लॉन्ग डजंट मीन कि मैं एक चीज सीख लिया। लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग व्हेन वी से इट इंप्लाइज अंडरस्टैंडिंग द चेंजिंग इन नॉलेज एनवायरनमेंट्स। आप देखो लाइफ कितनी ज्यादा चेंज हो रही है। preparing oneself to face the challenges of evolving technological engineering developments। अब मैं आपसे एक अच्छी कल की बात शेयर करता हूं। मेरे सिस्टम में माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ने वन ड्राइव को अपने आप ही, मेरे पास विंडोज 11 है, वो उसने उसमें इंट्रोड्यूस कर दिया। अब मैं उससे फैमिलियर नहीं था। उससे क्या हुआ कि मैं जब यूज करने लगा तो मेरा सिस्टम नहीं चल रहा था। मेरे लैपटॉप पे विंडोज 11 है और डेस्कटॉप पे विंडोज 10 है, तो मैं आई वॉज अनसक्सेसफुल इन डूइंग इट एज माई लैपटॉप। तो मैंने कल का जो लेक्चर था वो अपने डेस्कटॉप पे किया। अब इश्यू क्या आता है, लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग क्या है। तो मैं कल रात को 2 घंटे तक बैठा रहा, भी ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है। तो दैट मीन आई वॉज ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड भी चेंज क्यों हुई है। तो लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग मीन्स preparing oneself to face the challenges of evolving technological engineering development। से टेक्नोलॉजिकल डेवलपमेंट, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ने मेरी सिस्टम अपने आप ही अपग्रेड किया, उसमें वन ड्राइव डाल दिया और फिर उसको मेरे को लटका दिया। तो मैं उसमें 2-2.5 घंटे से पढ़ता रहा, उसको फिर मैंने इंटरनेट देखा, सारा कुछ करके मैंने उसको फिर ठीक किया। अब दिस इज व्हाट इज लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग, बीइंग ऑटोनॉमस, ऑलवेज इन लर्निंग मोड, creating resources for self-learning, acquiring new information, and staying up to date with relevant technical knowledge. Ability to conduct literature survey, क्या है नई चीज क्या नहीं है, assess, use information to make engineering decisions, participate in professional societies, meetings and networking. Now please here, अगर मैंने मॉडर्न टाइम में सक्सेसफुल होना है तो मुझे अपने आप को इन सब चीज़ों को लर्न करने के लिए रेडी करना है। अब ये चांस है कि मैं एक टीचर हूँ तो मुझे मालूम है कि मैंने ये मुझे करना है, लेकिन कितने लोग होते हैं जिनके लिए ये अप्रिशिएट करना ज़रूरी होता है। तो NEP सेज कि ट्रेन द यंगर जनरेशन, ट्रेन योर स्टूडेंट टू बिकम लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्नर्स। The moment you adopt this thing, you are, let me add here, not only you are competent to stay happy, you are capable of solving problems, managing change, technology, empathy and collaborating. ये क्वालिटी इंडिविजुअल में कब आएंगी? मैं फिर रिपीट कर रहा हूँ, अभी मान लो ये हमारी 5% 10% पॉपुलेशन में है, मैं ये चाहता हूं कि ये मेरी 70% पॉपुलेशन में होनी चाहिए, 60% पॉपुलेशन में होनी चाहिए। तो ये हम कैसे कर सकते हैं? ओनली थ्रू एजुकेशन। दैट्स द पर्पस ऑफ एजुकेशन, टू इग्नाइट द नेचुरल टैलेंट्स ऑफ ह्यूमन बीइंग। नाउ लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग इज ए क्यूरियोसिटी, is an inbuilt characteristics of human being. So basic philosophy of outcome based is all students have talent, it's the job of institution to develop it. Role of institution is to find ways for students to succeed. Excellence is for every student, not for few. A positive attitude mindset on the part of the institute is essential. So please see here, once OBE is the basis of our policy, these things are to be done. So now again, origin of outcome-based education pedagogy is human brain. ये मैं क्विकली करूंगा आपको आइडिया देने के लिए। क्यों करूंगा कि अगर आप ओबी जब इंप्लीमेंट करते हो तो यू आर डेवलपिंग ह्यूमन ब्रेन, यू हैव द अपॉर्चुनिटी ऑफ डूइंग दैट। रिसर्च इन न्यूरोसाइंस ब्रिंग्स आउट द फंक्शंस ऑफ द ब्रेन लेफ्ट एंड राइट, दीज फंक्शंस कैन बी एनहांस्ड फर्दर बाय अप्रोप्रिएट टेक्निक्स थ्रू एजुकेशनल थिंग। सो ये सारा इसमें पॉसिबल है। दूसरा ये है कि ये जो स्टूडेंट जो नेचुरल एबिलिटीज हैं, क्रिएटिविटी, एनालिटिक रीजनिंग, ये नेचुरल एबिलिटीज हैं और यही एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी स्किल्स हैं। अब काइंडली सी, मैंने आपको ये लेक्चर का पर्पस था हाउ एनईपी हेल्प्स अस, लीड्स अस टू द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी स्किल्स। नाउ रिपीट, एनईपी emphasizes the adoption of outcome based education. Outcome based education origin is human brain, क्योंकि ये जो कॉग्निटिव, लेफ्ट ब्रेन इज कॉग्निटिव, राइट ब्रेन इज इफेक्टिव एंड सो ऑन। ऑलरेडी the components of OBE are related with these things. So this is how natural abilities are there, and these are the employability skills. For example, analytical ability is present in everyone, logical thinking is present in anyone, so these are the employability skills. अब इसको डेवलप कैसे करना है? कुछ लोग तो इसको इनहेरिट करते हैं, ठीक है, और कुछ लोगों में डेवलप हो सकती है, बिकॉज ब्रेन इज ए मसल, इट कैन बी डेवलप। नाउ द इशू इज व्हाट इज द बेस्ट वे ऑफ डूइंग इट। लेक्चर वगैरह सब पॉसिबल है, बट एनईपी एम्फेसाइजेज एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग। नाउ प्लीज सी हियर, अब यहाँ पर आपको थोड़ा सा फोकस करना है। एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग मच मोर देन डूइंग ए प्रोजेक्ट। Experience learning is much more than learning. When I say learning from experience, it indicates learning is the process of acquiring new, modifying existing, or enhancing knowledge, behavior, skills, values, and attributes. When I say experiential learning is learning through action, learning by doing, learning through experience, and learning through discovery and exploration. Now kindly see here. See, when I say experiential contain the following: reflection, critical analysis, and synthesis. जब हम कहते हैं ना लर्निंग थ्रू एक्शन, अब मैं एक्शन ऐसे ही परफॉर्म नहीं करूंगा, मैं सोचूंगा क्या रेलेवेंट एक्शन है। जब मुझे टूल में यूज करने होते हैं तो कई टूल तो बड़े आम होते हैं, कई टूल स्पेसिफिक होते हैं, और जो इनोवेटिव बच्चे होते हैं वो नई चीज भी कर लेते हैं। तो काइंडली अप्रिशिएट experiential learning contain the following elements: opportunity for student to take initiative, make decisions, and be accountable for the results. Opportunity for student to engage intellectually, creatively, emotionally, socially, or physically. A designed learning experience that includes the possibility to learn from natural consequences, mistakes, and successes. हमारी जो लैब है ना, प्रोजेक्ट है, प्रोजेक्ट इज वन एग्जाम्पल। प्लीज सी हियर, project is one example, provided we bring out what is the learning of a given project. A project in mechanical engineering, a project in computer science, a project in environmental science, there will be certain commonality, but there will be certain different learning also. What are those learnings? An experiential learning process. Any realistic experiential activity comprises a number of steps and stages. Now, अभी आपने बात करी थी ना स्टूडेंट की जो कॉल सेंटर में काम करता है. Whenever we say experiential learning process, it is there are many stages involved in doing any application. वो जो stages हैं, हर stage different होगी, हर उसमें different steps होंगे, steps करने का तरीका अलग होगा, उसके नई उसमें फेलियर भी होंगे, गलत भी होगी, ठीक भी होगी. So experiential learning says any realistic experience activity comprises a number of steps and stages, each different from each other. Experiential, इस पर बहुत काम हुआ है. Haynes is one of the pioneers in this. Experiential learning offers student a hands-on, collaborative, and reflective experience. The reflective experience moment I say thinking opportunity, which helps to fully learn new skills and knowledge. वैसे ही काम कर लेना कुछ नहीं है, वो करते हैं, हम करते हैं, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है. बट द रियल एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग वुड इम्प्लाई gaining variety of learning from the various stages. During each step of doing activity, students will engage with the content, the instructor, teacher, each other, as well as self-reflect and apply what they have learned in another situation. Please see here. कंटेंट तो करता ही करता है, कंटेंट के साथ वो दूसरा स्टेप जब कर रहा है, कोई स्टेप ठीक हो जाता है, कोई स्टेप गलत हो जाता है. सी अभी हम आप लोग अभी एग्जांपल ऑर्डिनरी चीजों में नहीं होता है. सी व्हेन आई गो टू लेट अस से आई वांट टू ट्रेन माय स्टूडेंट विद एक्सपीरियंस लर्निंग प्रोसेस, जो मैं एक्टिविटी सिलेक्ट करूंगा वो उसी लेवल की होगी. फॉर थर्ड ईयर स्टूडेंट इट विल बी ऑफ हायर लेवल, फॉर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्टूडेंट डिफरेंट काइंड. सो ऑल्दो लर्निंग कंटेंट इज इंपॉर्टेंट, learning from the process is at the heart of experiential learning. So experiential learning में देखिए बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है, इसमें मैंने काफी काम हुआ है. People have done a lot of work on this. There is activity, what happened, ये पहले अंडरस्टैंड करना है. Reflection, what did I learn from the experience, करते क्या फीलिंग जनरेट हुई, क्या मैं सैड हुआ, क्या मैं डिसहार्टन हुआ, क्यों हुआ, अगर मैं डिसहार्टन हुआ तो क्यों हुआ, इस डिसहार्टन की वजह क्या हो सकती है. आप देखिए यहाँ पर आई एम एनकरेजिंग स्टूडेंट टू थिंक, कंसेप्चुअलाइजिंग व्हाई डिड दैट हैपन. ये जो मैं इतने मेरे से ये जो काम गड़बड़ हो गया तो वजह क्या हुई. जैसे मान लिया सिंपल एग्जांपल दूं, सिंपल पेंडुलम को ले लो, अगर उसकी वायर थिन नहीं है, मोटी वायर है और रिजल्ट तो उसका 980 आना ही नहीं है, तो ये अंडरस्टैंड करना कि ये ऐसा क्यों हुआ, ये इज अ पार्ट ऑफ एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग. फिर अगर जो मैंने इन सब से सीखा है, मैं कहीं इसको यूज कर सकूंगा कि नहीं कर सकूंगा. कई बार कर सकते हैं, कई बार नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन मैंने अपना माइंडसेट ऐसे ट्रेन करना है कि इन सब से जो मैंने सीखा है वो अप्लाई कर सकूं. दैट्स व्हाट एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग इज. दैट्स व्हाट NEP emphasizes, brings out कि in every program, in every course, try to do. हर एक में पॉसिबल नहीं होगा, जहां पॉसिबल है वहां पर इसको इनकॉर्पोरेट करिए. So experiential learning occurs when carefully chosen activity projects are supported by reflection, critical analysis, synthesis. Right now, benefits of experiential learning are student persistence and attention, increase academic outcomes, fulfillment of social outcomes, depending upon what kind of experiential learning. See, doing a project in a village is also experiential learning. Caring an old, let's say, a senior citizen is also experiential learning, which will be for the medical student, for the nursing student, and so on. Increase the knowledge of faculties and students. Experiential learning, that's what it implies. Now, here are some examples. Experiential learning सिर्फ लैब या प्रोजेक्ट नहीं होता है. Experiential learning internship है. Experiential learning प्रॉब्लम बेस्ड लर्निंग है, प्रॉब्लम बेस्ड प्रोजेक्ट बेस्ड लर्निंग है, केस बेस्ड लर्निंग है, स्टूडेंट दूसरों को पढ़ाना है, दूसरी जगह कैंपस में जाके पढ़ना है, सर्विस करना है, स्टूडेंट टेस्ट पे नई नई चीजें सोचना है, दे आर ऑल डिपेंडिंग ऑन दिस डिसिप्लिन वी आर इन, दे विल कॉन्स्टिट्यूट एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग aspects, fellowships हैं, internships हैं. The reason I'm saying this thing is क्योंकि जब इंटर्नशिप भी करते हैं तो उसमें 5-6 स्टेप्स होंगे, जब आप स्टूडेंट को पढ़ाते भी हैं तो 4-5 स्टेप्स होंगे, जब आप किसी काम के लिए वॉलंटियर करते हैं तो 5-6 स्टेप्स होंगे. हर स्टेप्स के अपने अपने लर्निंग है. अगेन रिपीट, लर्निंग नॉलेज ना हो सकता है लेकिन एटीट्यूड हो सकती है, बिहेवियर हो सकता है, एंड सो ऑन. So how experience learning can help to foster higher order thinking skills? Experiential learning, how it can help us? See, project based learning is one example. मेरे ख्याल में मैं इसको I will not touch on this, लेकिन let me ask questions now. We'll try to wind up here. क्योंकि project based learning is also example experience learning. ये मेरा कोई लेक्चर लंबा हो गया, सॉरी. प्रोजेक्ट बेस्ड लर्निंग विल आल्सो हेल्प अस. ना ये मैं आपको दिखाना चाहता हूँ कि टीचर का रोल क्या है. हम लोग कहते तो रहते हैं ना, टीचर इज ए फैसिलिटेटर. अब फैसिलिटेटर इतना आसान नहीं होता है. फैसिलिटेटर बनने के लिए आपको बहुत सारा करना पड़ता है. मॉडर्न डे टीचर इज ए लीडर, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्वर, technology savvy, mathematician, critical thinker, curious learner. What is it? What is not? So this is how a present day teacher will look like. With these things, I will come to end and ask the questions. Thanks for your participation and attention. Questions, suggestions, comments, please. Yes, please. Your inputs are very much required. आई एम सॉरी, ये लास्ट मेरा कंपोनेंट थोड़ा फास्ट करना पड़ा, बट यू विल गेट ए फील ऑफ इट. एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग, जो प्रोजेक्ट बेस्ड आप लर्निंग करते हो उसमें लर्निंग क्या करते हैं, एक्टिविटी करते हैं, लर्निंग क्या है. देखिए ये कहना, आप कह रहे हैं हाउ मैनी टाइम्स कैन अवेल, ये तो अभी डिसीजन लेना होता है यूनिवर्सिटी ने. ये डिपेंड करता है कोर्स पर, ये डिपेंड करेगा कौन कौन से करिकुलम है, ये उस चीज़ पर डिपेंड करेगा. अभी ना ऐसा कोई डेफिनेट नहीं कह सकते भी वी कैन गिवन 3 ऑप्शन और 4 ऑप्शन. ये अभी इस पर हर यूनिवर्सिटी पे डिपेंड करेगा, स्टूडेंट पे डिपेंड करेगा, कोर्स पे डिपेंड करेगा, एंड सो ऑन.